Hey all! Happy Monday. Probably for the first time since I started this rewrite, I actually experienced a little bit of writing block, so I was really delayed in making this script. I knew how it was going to start and end, but that meaty middle that we all usually love was just a fog for me. And that's because initially episodes 48 to 50 were going to be one episode. But it was while I was making last episode that I realized that I couldn't simply cram them all into one episode. And after this episode's finished, it'll make sense to you why I've separated them as I have. Like I said at the end of the tuning exams, I feel as though I've slowed down the story a little more than necessary. In my initial bullet point plot that I had outlined at the very beginning, episode 100 was going to be the theoretical end. But clearly we're at the halfway point and I haven't even reached the time skip yet. So at the expense of some clarity and detail, I've tried to streamline this war. I'm not planning on cutting anything important, but if it wasn't obvious already, I like to write, and I like to talk, and I'm long-winded. This particular combination leaves me feeling okay with an extremely long series. But there are so many other ideas I have for writing in regards to both this manga and many others. And I don't want to put one-off videos between the episodes and stretch out how long it'll take for me to finish this either. Because that means the rewrite could take years plural instead of years singular. The long and short of it is that I love where things are going and how they're going. But I eventually want to do other things for this channel as well. It's growing at a pretty steady and predictable rate, though slower than most of my older subscribers have predicted. And I mean, let's not lie to ourselves, it's probably because I don't advertise for my channel on every single video. And while I'd love to have that big audience, it's also not why I'm doing this in the first place. This is a creative outlet. And in the future, I hope to espouse with some of my other creative stuff that I've done in my life up to this point. But enough with the ranting, we haven't had an intro this long in a while, so let's get on with the episode, shall we? Reaching his goal, Orochimaru has brought to a standstill the brunt of the Leaf forces. They've overtaken the two flanking parties running along the coast and in the Dreadlands. Their attack on Iwa, the ninja city, was meant to occur in tandem. This indicates that the coastal party and the Dreadlands teams have run into hiccups along the way. Or the mainland forces simply haven't had enough of a challenge. The clear and present danger of the Dreadlands is obvious, but Orochimaru has no idea how he's gotten ahead of the coastal party, that they haven't taken their last establishment yet. He snarls that perhaps he's chosen the wrong leaders for the secondary forces. It was promised to him that Baki knew what he was doing, and in a sandy environment like the beach, he would have tricks to take advantage. Meanwhile, despite leading the least successful genin of the newest crop, Might Guy was promised to him as a reliable leader. The Goof's honor would doubtlessly lead to success, or at least it was promised as such by Minato. Might Guy was also under a different stress of failing Orochimaru a second time. It was likely humiliating that he lost to a low-level genjutsu while on his first ever mission with Orochimaru. This was not the kind of thing that Might Guy would want to repeat under the guiding force of a Sannin. While waiting, Orochimaru gets his second Genma to put the men and women to work in building defensive fortifications. They were totally out in the open. The hidden stone village was in the mountains, and they'd entered that area now. Trees and vegetation in general had slowly receded, and now they passed over an oddly lifeless plain. All things considered, it was pretty similar here to what it was like in the Land of Wind. Team Asuma gets the signal to stop their advance, as well as Lord Orochimaru doesn't want the forces bunching up. Seeing as they're at the center of the marching forces, they could not be safer. So, Asuma allows his Chunin to relax for now while he speaks with some nearby Jonin about what may be happening at the front. Pulling the other two in close, Tenten tells them this might be their best opportunity to learn about each other. The silly training they've been doing has made it impossible to talk to each other. But Chunin or not, if they don't talk and get to know each other, she thinks their cooperation won't be so good. To start off with, since they already know each other, they should share what each can do. Putting her own strengths out to bear first, Tenten tells the other two that she's obviously really good with taijutsu and weapons. Tapping her Kiba blades, she indicates that she's getting better every day at Kenjutsu, or swordplay. And while her chakra affinity is lightning, her chakra control is not good, and so she tries to avoid both ninjutsu and genjutsu wherever possible. In turn, Sakura tells Tenten that she needs to focus up on that chakra control. Even someone like my guy can use ninjutsu and genjutsu as specialized as he already is, so Tenten shouldn't just run away from her weaknesses. Along that vein, Sakura does admit that her own strengths and weaknesses seem to run opposite Tenten's. She's not great with taijutsu, but she's excellent with genjutsu, even pointed out by Lady Tsunade. This recognition brings Tenten's attention fully to Sakura. Her idol complimented Sakura on her expertise. Tenten wonders what she can do to catch Lady Tsunade's eye. Sakura's chakra affinity is fire, and while she has really good chakra control, she'd prefer to save what little she has for genjutsu. If they needed help in a squeeze, she is certainly willing to bust out ninjutsu, however. And she bashfully admits that she went through the motions so much when she was younger that she's all but mastered the basic jutsu from Academy. She thinks she's being bashful, but this is sort of like bragging. Both look at Naruto, who seemed intent to listen, but rolls his eyes when expected to take part. Sakura tells him everyone knows what he can do anyways, but maybe he has some secrets. Tenten asks him what he knows about the shadow style so far. He tells Tenten that he can only use the shadow style when the fox is trying to take control. As long as he can push the fox back down, he can use shadow style in the meantime. However, he doesn't like sitting on the edge with the fox so close to the surface. Sakura smacks her palm with her fist as she points out that he has his sensory technique. They have every aspect of being a ninja covered between them. Lord Jiraiya wanted to teach her summoning, but feared that she didn't have enough chakra to do so. She wonders if Lord Orochimaru taught Naruto how to summon. Evading the topic, Naruto confesses that his sensory technique is wielded well by his dad, but he has to touch his palm to the ground to use it reliably. His dad can basically use the sensory technique constantly, but Naruto has no idea how. And of course, the flying Raijin, which is really easy to use at the short distance, but if he used it to go home right now, he's pretty sure he'd fall asleep for a week. Sakura points out his family lineage, and doubts that there's any technique that can really take out all of his energy. It's hard for Naruto to disagree, but he stresses that he needs chakra control regardless. If he tries to use his wind techniques without focusing, he could cut people 20 feet away by total accident. Unlike the other elements, you can't exactly see wind, so you need to pay attention to its exact parameters. But on one point, Naruto definitely agrees. Ninjutsu's probably his strongest aspect, which puts the three of them as pros in the three main schools of jutsu. Looking away toward Asuma, Naruto also mumbles about the Rasengan, which of course piques the other girl's interest. He can't lie to himself. Naruto loves this positive attention that they're giving him. But despite the S-rank techniques mentioned, he tells them that he doesn't know how to do it yet. Jiraiya and his dad tried to teach it to him when he was still very little, and he just didn't have the gumption to learn. He knows the steps now, but he hasn't given it the time to train. All three are called to attention by Asuma as a weird wall of gray is spotted on the southwestern horizon, rapidly growing in size as it gets nearer. There are still small bunches of trees in the area that Team Asuma is at, as well as various cottages and homesteads. But this gray acts like a great tidal wave, consuming everything it touches instantly. They just vanish behind its opaque surface as it billows closer and closer to the party. Various ninja at the edge of their ranks begin getting swallowed up as well. At Lord Orochimaru's position, he and the other Jonin realize the unnatural reality of this fog as it surges toward them. The speed that it's traveling is beyond unnatural, considering the nearly zero wind at the moment. Various Jonin erect barriers in anticipation for a violent meeting with the fog. Orochimaru, meanwhile, just stands in place and waits for it to hit him, unperturbed. The instant the fog reaches and hits Orochimaru, he immediately can't see further than a foot in front of him. The fog robs him of light and scatters his orientation. He also feels an odd violence influence him, like mentally, but his tenure and training as a veteran ninja keeps him from succumbing to it. Genma is a different tale, however, as he appears from the fog in extremely close proximity and attempts to kill Orochimaru with weapons drawn. Back with Team Asuma, they too watch the fog roll closer, and a Jonin beside Asuma chuckles with finality. He proposes that this is where all the rock ninja were, conjuring in cooperation this supermassive genjutsu. This fog stretches seemingly endlessly in both directions along the horizon. Asuma can't counter the proposal since nothing else makes better sense. He shouts for Naruto to shield the team with a wall of wind, but Naruto's not ventured beyond his dad's training so creatively yet. Sakura then reminds him of their academy days and how many of the basic jutsu can take shape regardless of which element they're attached to. In theory, a rock wall is erected in the same way as a wind wall. It only requires slightly different hand seals and channeling a particular element. She reassures Naruto that he's easily capable of this. And then, following Sakura's suggestion, Naruto replaces the Earth Seal with the Wind Seal and performs the same basic wall jutsu that everyone's taught in Academy. Sure enough, he can feel the chakra surge from his hands, and despite the wind barrier being invisible to the naked eye, he can feel that it's there. Naruto tells Asuma that he can't move while holding it or it'll go away. Asuma tells him that's fine, he just needs to wait out the storm, so to speak. Pulling Tenten close to Naruto, Asuma shouts for Sakura to come closer. As the fog smacks into them, it swirls high around the barrier, and Naruto feels barely any resistance. This leaves the team in a bubble of dark protection as the light of the day gets swallowed up by the thick mist. Tenten and Asuma are well protected from the fog, but Sakura was unfortunately beyond the circle of protection. Emerging from the wall of mist, Sakura has turned nearly feral as she ruthlessly tries to attack Tenten. Deaf to reason, and forgetting any weapons on her, Sakura flails like a wild animal at Tenten. Fortunately, Asuma catches her and pins her to the ground so she can't harm anyone. After assessing the effect the fogs had on her, Asuma tells Tenten to stay close to Naruto no matter what. He also tells Naruto that it's essential for him to maintain the barrier no matter what. As he pulls rope out of his pack to keep Sakura tied up, the Leaf Jonin he had been talking to before suddenly emerges from the fog as well and assaults him from behind. Releasing Sakura, Asuma turns his attention to the Jonin and struggles to hold the man off, not wanting to injure him any more than necessary. Though ordered to keep the barrier up, Naruto is now forced to watch helplessly as Sakura recovers and launches at Tenten, who struggles to defend without attacking. Tripping over each other in their scramble, a kunai finds its way into Sakura's hand. Tenten stumbles while locked with the still raving Sakura, and both girls fall over. Both lie still for a few seconds before Sakura winds back and starts pounding fists into Tenten's weakened guard. In Tenten's side, the kunai has found itself. Gasping in pain, Tenten's crumbling under Sakura's weight and relentless attacking, and Asuma can't spare any time yet to pull Sakura off. Deciding his teammates' lives are more important than some weird fog, Naruto releases the wind barrier and dives at Sakura, peeling her off of Tenten. Though the fog caves in on them all, it maintains a huge distance from Naruto, 3 or 4 feet away. He gets an immediate headache, and the fox grumbles for him to find help before his stupidity gets them both killed. Putting a palm to the ground, Naruto hones in on Tenten and Sakura nearby, and runs to them. Both have now lost their minds, and Naruto bear hugs Sakura around the waist to lift her off of Tenten. Visibility is so low that Naruto can barely see what he's doing, as he plunks Sakura on the ground and turns to Tenten to make sure she's not fatally injured. The fox again advises him to use his shadows to tie them down. However, with the modified seal, Naruto now also hears the fox's underhanded thoughts about using the shadows as an opportunity to get free. Reluctant to abide by the suggestion, Naruto now has to contend with both girls attacking him from either side. Seemingly forgetting that she's injured in her madness, Tenten has found her feet only to punch and claw at Naruto, opposite Sakura doing the same. Throwing down all 3 of his flying Raijin kunai, Naruto teleports quickly around the girls to distract them and attempts to gain an advantage. He kicks Sakura in the back of the knees before disappearing and reappearing behind Tenten to pull an arm up behind her back. However, both seem unaffected by the pain of his attempts to disable, as both are overwhelmed by feral fury. Though he's taken a lot of hits from both, Naruto's keeping both apart and keeping them from hurting each other. The fox grumbles that this selflessness will get him killed, even if these brats are too weak to actually finish him. Naruto, in frustration and stress, screams into the deafening fog for the fox to shut up, as a rock ninja emerges from this fog and plunges a sword square into Naruto's chest. For a moment, Naruto feels the fox recoil violently from the strike. In the next moment, nothing else matters, as Naruto looks down at the blade and releases both girls. They don't exist for him anymore. His eyes are wide with shock, mouth agape, stunned that the assault occurred so easily. Not even thinking about it, Naruto's hands find their way to the blade, gripping it as if unsure if it's even real. Blood has already gushed way down his front, but it stops as the wound is stoppered by the inky shadow slithering from his chest. The shadow twirls around the blade and Naruto's hands, anchoring it all in place. Two tails of pure chakra snake out of Naruto, grabbing both girls and hammering them into the ground. The third tail lifts high into the air and creates a wide split in the fog, like a sharpened blade cleaving paper into two separate pieces. Naruto blinks, and the fog vanishes, along with the accompanying rock ninja. The wound in his chest is gone, and he watches as the landscape beneath him blurs away. He's sprinting as fast as he can, his great clawed paws creating small craters with every step taken. His speed makes traveling across the country take a few hours rather than a few weeks. He glances behind him as he runs and sees his many tails lashing violently, picking up trees and launching them backward. Indeed, he only needs to run this fast as he flees from the humans that pursue him. No matter how much he wants to know who these men are, the landscape is peeling away at such a rate that he feels as though stopping is impossible. Suddenly taking a sharp turn, he has to avoid the second man in his path, as if his armor actually protected him from anything. They both wear similar armor, but both men are so strong that their armor is simply ceremony, not actually useful in any capacity against such a foe. The fox had attempted a life at peace with the humans. The fox had. The fox. Not them. Not the stupid humans who sought only the power the fox had. Now scattered across the world, the fox no longer knew where its siblings were, or if they were safe. Now the strongest of the humans sought to control the strongest beasts. Despite his speed to flee the men, the fox is continuously intercepted all the same. Rounding on the two men, following close to his tail, the fox growls as a great bijou dama, a bomb of pure chakra, erupts from in front of his mouth. This would eradicate any human easily. This would eradicate an army of thousands easily. The fox is unpleasantly surprised by just one human effortlessly absorbing the blow with one of their many stolen tricks. If only the fox's father could see what these humans had done with his gifts. His signature attack foiled immediately, Naruto tries to flee, but roots have already begun to snake around his legs. Pulling violently against the prison, he is helpless to the other human landing on his head and making eye contact with him, close and personal. After this, all the fox sees is red and rage beyond anything he thought capable. Growling at the imprisonment, Naruto wrenches the sword and pulls it from his chest. The shadowy tendrils have snaked to the rock ninja's hands, preventing him from detaching and making distance. The shadows act like tar and stick to everything they touch, and the enemy shinobi can no longer move. Struggling against the fox's growing chakra, the rock ninja is slowly covered more and more by the shadow. Suddenly, like a wet towel being twisted and wrung dry, the rock ninja contorts under the strength of the shadows and falls limp, dead. Instead of the fox's cloak growing in strength, It swirls and concentrates at the wound's entrance as the fox pours all of its attention, chakra, and focus to hasten the healing process. Its work done, the fox tries to control Naruto's body, but as if a limit's been reached, it recedes to a slumber. Wobbling, Naruto falls to his knees and looks up to see Tenten and Sakura continuously attempt to tear each other apart, ignoring the fox's little outburst. Reaching weakly towards them, Naruto blinks sleepily to himself and falls unconscious. And that's the end of today's episode. A little more rocky than the coastal incident. What kind of crazy fog have these rock ninja cast on the Leaf Army? And what will that do to their offensive efforts? I'm sure Orochimaru will be fine, but if Naruto's unconscious, what harm will befall him next? Is this Iwa's true defense? It certainly seems like something a ninja should be doing, right? Deception is basically what's happening here, as expected of a typical ninja. I'm sure you can see the trend here. We'll be visiting Team Guy next episode, and how their travels through the Dreadlands fare. Not to mention the assault on the defensive outpost that they're meant to do. We also got another Fox flashback. This is probably a little more familiar than the first one I did. All the humans present in that memory are canonical characters, but the Fox didn't know their names at the time, so it didn't make narrative sense to name them. It should be pretty easy to guess. Inevitably, as the Fox interacts more and more with Naruto, we'll see more flashbacks like this. All this and more next time. The sky's the limit.